Ja Morant, you are a Portland Trailblazer. My, oh my, what is that heinous smell? I didn't even hear a single rumor of him even being linked to the Portland Trailblazers, but the overall trade is Ja Morant for Jeremy Grant, who has $70.6 million left on his contract, including a player option for the next season, or after this upcoming season, and Chris Murray, Keegan Murray's brother, who's basically a throner for being quite frank. Blake first pick, I believe he also went to Iowa, but just didn't really amount to anything with all due respect. He's a lefty. He's a lefty that has the same face as Keegan Murray. That's the only thing I can tell you about Chris Murray. But he hasn't really shot the cover off the ball in his NBA career so far. But yeah, so Ja Morant gets a new change of scenery. He's headed to the Blazers, and now you might wonder, the Blazers have a million guards. You know, they have Ja Morant, they have Drew Holiday, they have Damian Lillard, they have Shaedon Sharpe, they have Scoot Henderson. There's gonna be an odd man out, and Chris Haynes just tweeted out that the Blazers envision their starting backcourt to be Ja Morant and Damian Lillard with Danny Avdija on the wing. So what that means is Drew Holiday is probably on his way out of Portland. So, hey, as a Heat fan, shit, not that Drew Holiday. What's Drew Holiday contract going right now? Like 30, maybe like 40 mil. I know we got a bag from the Celtics. What was it again? 4 years, 134. So this upcoming year, 34.8. Then the year after that is a 37.2 player option. Now, knowing Drew Holiday at 37 years old, I feel like there's a good chance right now that he takes that contract. Drew Holiday, he's coming up for a pretty solid season. Now, his shooting did come down considerably from his last year in Boston, and especially the year when they won the ring, where he took limited shots, but he was hyper efficient. He was a defensive hound. Ja Morant is headed to the Blazers in a backcourt with Damian Lillard, so it's definitely going to be a free eats defensive backcourt. Now, Ja Morant's a very polarizing player on and off the court. I feel like the last couple of years he's gotten just worse, to be quite frank. This comes from a guy that, at least I used to be like a pretty big Ja Morant fan. I remember when he came back, they did the game against the Pacers on TNT, and I was like, damn, as Ja FC, man, that was a beautiful day. That was a glorious day. It was in like best PG in the NBA convos, and then the off the court situation happened, and then you just see his game continue to deteriorate and go down. His shooting has got considerably worse. He's never really been a good shooter, but bro, you give him the mid range, I give him the three, you just live with it, and the finishing isn't as impeccable as it used to be. Now, not saying he's a bad finisher by now, but he's obviously, which is weird, because obviously athleticism goes through its peaks and valleys, and usually goes through his valleys when they're getting older. But Ja Morant isn't a guy that is considerably old. I mean, Ja Morant is still how old? Again, man, Ja Morant was literally, dude, Ja Morant is 26 years old. He's literally from, dude, he literally was the Grizzlies. I got a point. Ja Morant was bigger than the program. Ja Morant was literally bigger than the Grizzlies. And to see him not on this team now, I mean, it's definitely tough. I really want to see what Grizzlies fans got to say about this. Obviously, they knew this day probably would come, but they obviously didn't want it to happen. Maybe mostly. Don't have time for, that's tough. So yeah, Grizzlies fans, how do you guys feel about what's it called? Trading away Ja Morant. Again, you're getting back Jeremy Grant. Again, probably coming off the bench. He's definitely a starter for Cam Boozer. Hell no. Maybe you want to move him back to the 3. I don't know. Have a big 3 through 5 with Jeremy Grant, Cam Boozer, and Zach Edey. Again, with Jeremy Grant, another one of these guys is he's all right. He's solid. He's not anything to write home about, but. And then Chris Murray, again, all due respect, he's the lefty throw-in. But most of the talks obviously about Ja Morant, and can he find himself again and not get his joy back, but go back to being an all-star caliber player. A lot of people are saying, maybe Ja Morant just needed a change of scenery, needed to get out of Memphis and this, that, and the third, and be around the right entourage, and needed a blank canvas and this and that. Well, let's see what happens. I mean, again, this is a guy that has gotten worse in the last minimum 3 years in the NBA. His shooting has gotten worse. He's never been known as a defender, and his efficiency at the rim has gotten worse. Now, what I will say with John Morant that I do really feel like is going underrated with John Morant is definitely his playmaking. I feel like John Morant is quietly one of the league's most underrated playmakers. He's gotten a lot better in terms of playmaking, but again, the other parts of his game have all gone worse. So at least he's upgraded something in the matter of time, that he reached his peak stardom. Because everything else, for the most part, has gone down. And then you've seen some character concerns and things like that as well. But yeah, this next Blazers backcourt, they said, shoo, Drew Holiday. I want to have 2 starting point guards in my backcourt, Damian Lillard and John Morant. Getting off the Jeremy Grant contract, yeah. It's just very, very interesting to say the least. I mean, again, quickly looking through the Blazers, like, dude, y'all just have a million guards. Like, dude, it's just, oh my goodness. You didn't give up a prospect to get John Morant. Again, it's a flyer guy that seemed like you had to attach I feel like you had to attach like a first round pick to get him. To get him off your books. And yeah, they end up Grizzlies got to take back right now, we got to be honest, that Jeremy Green contract is a bad contract. He's not a bad player. He's an all right player. I know he ducks the month of like April or something like that, but he played it this year because the team actually made it to the play-in. So they got a new head coach down there, Mike Nori. Y'all have a terrorist at owner. We want to see what happens. But again, you didn't give up any prospect. Again, if you want to classify Chris Murray as that, whatever. But you obviously keep your guys. Tumani Kamara, a.k.a. Too Many Cameras. Shaden Sharp. Donovan Clingan. Obviously, your best player. Denny Avdia, Mr. ISR. So, and you obviously keep Scoot Henderson as well again. I presume this means that Drew Holiday is on his way out of Portland. I mean, again, I don't think he's making like $40 million come off the bench. So Scoot Henderson probably off the bench again. You still have Shaden Sharp off the bench. Maybe you can... I don't know. What can you really get back for the ilk of like a Drew Holiday nowadays? I mean, what are you really looking for right now? I don't know. I mean, I feel like you have your starting lineup panned out. If you want to start Drew Holiday and John Morant, you have either or point guard, shooting guard, small forward, Denny Avdia, or really power forward, him and Tumani Kamara. And then you have Donovan Clingan off the bench, Shaden Sharp, and God knows who. But yeah, Portland Trailblazers. How do you wait? Hold on. Who did the Let me see. No, I'm not getting this. Hold on. Wow. Okay, I was about to say what? The Blazers didn't have any picks. Apparently, they made those look in the 2026 draft. I'm like, oh, okay then. Yeah, the pick was out to the Bulls from a trade involving Larry Nance, but officially conveyed to Chicago, and they had no. They traded the second round pick in 2021 to the Pelicans for Greg Brown III. That was routed to the Spurs. So yeah, they just didn't have an influx of young talent, to be quite frank, entering this season with the NBA draft. So let's see what Mike Nori's cooking up there with 2 point guards in his backcourt, and John Morant and Damian Lillard, probably moving off of Drew Holiday, getting off the Jeremy Grant contract. And for the Grizzlies, you take back a bad contract, you get off John Morant. Your starting point guard is it not like Ty Jerome? With all due respect, I really like him in the 6-man role. I feel like he's a combo guard. He's more of a shoot-first guy than a pass-first guy, but we know he has an absolute he's a sniper, man. He's an absolute sniper. So looking at Cedric Howard, Jalen Wells, Cam Boozer, Zach Edey, Scottie Pippen Jr., Ty Jerome, Gigi Jackson's got his option exercise today. Santi Aldama, Kareem Lopez, Beef Stew, KCP, Scott Taylor Hendricks, and Walter Clayton Jr., and Javon Small. You still have Max Prosper. Still have my boy Cam Spencer. Like, they have some decent depth. I'm not gonna lie, man. Really got some decent depth. Now, if I were to guess, I think either or, I probably would say start Ty Jerome. So looking at a starting 5 for the Grizzlies of Ty Jerome, Cedric Howard, probably, yeah, Jalen Wells, Cam Boozer, Zach Edey. See how it all transpires. But yeah, John Morant's a Blazer. Holy shit. I did not expect this to happen. Blazers fans, comment down below. Grizzlies fans, comment down below. Who do you guys think won this trade, in my opinion? Who knows? But wow, John Morant's a Blazer. What the hell?